Hey guys, how's it going? SoCal here. So today we're going to do a video, well, it's a live chat. Actually, it's my first live chat. So just wanted to thank Mr. Ray of the X-Ring channel. And there goes KotaBoy. I guess he doesn't want to be on anymore. Maybe he'll join us in a bit. But we're going to be talking about some precision reloading for precision rifle. And looks like KB's back. Very good.
Hello.
So I want you guys just do like a little opener thing. Go ahead, Ray. Since
Hey
KotaBoy's
guys, Ray
gone.
with the X-Ring. I don't know. He keeps jumping off the call. We're going to wait for him to come back or what?
No, go ahead. Maybe he'll join us for real one day.
Okay, so, all right. So we're talking about what we're going to talk about on the chat, or what are we doing here?
Yeah, just say a little bit of something about yourself and, you know.
All right, guys. So yeah, I'm X-Ring. If you guys don't watch the channel, definitely appreciate it if you go over there and subscribe. But basically, I do a lot of long-range shooting in the video, also some 3-gun and things like that. And John had just picked up a new precision rifle from the other John, and so it was an MPA, and he was wanting to get into reloading, and that's something I've done a lot of, but I've always avoided it on any of the YouTube channel stuff because I heard that's a good way to get a strike. And so we figured we'd throw together a intro or basics to precision reloading. So I don't know. Go ahead and take it, John. KB.
All right, so here's how it all started for everybody who's watching. I got my first taste of shooting precision rifle. When was it? It was with you guys, actually, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, yeah, actually, it was down at the Clinton House plantation, and SoCal brought a couple of his high-end, super-duper AIs, Accuracy Internationals, in, and I've always wanted to kind of get involved in it and was looking at different avenues. But in any case, long story short, SoCal had a Masterpiece Arms that he'd kind of grown out of and moved up into the AI. So he gave me a smashing deal on it. And that's how I got into doing this. And then having a little background in reloading for 223 or 5.56 and the pistol rounds and everything, I decided to go ahead and delve into the world of reloading for precision rifle. And when you do that, it jumps itself up into a whole new world. There's just, and I'm finding this out little by little. And but the whole thing is in my book, there's no such thing as a failure on this, because anytime you learn something new, that is in one way or another a success story. So in any case, learning a lot about it, learning the tools of what's involved in it, in addition to what you normally would have available in the reloading realm. But all in all, man, it's been a really cool experience. I'm starting into my first full week of it, but I'm jumping head in to the pond. And I talked to so many people, they go, I don't want to get involved in all that. But I think in order to become more proficient all the way around with firearms and anything else that's involved, you really need to you need to have that experience, or at least if you're going to go to the next level, you need to have that background. You need to have that experience. So that's what we're living right now.
Yeah, that's for certain. I've been doing reloading now for about 10 years, and you're right. Comparing just standard run-of-the-mill reloading for like AR and pistol, even competition pistol, where you do want to have reliable ammunition, reloading, there's a lot more to it. And I think that's kind of what we want to go into, specifically the rifle. And with a shouldered case, it brings kind of like a new dimension to what you can really do with brass and more specifically bolt action, it kind of brings like an entire pile of nuance, I guess, to reloading. So what I've found specifically, at least learned in the last maybe year and a half, 2 years, I've learned a lot from Papa's Place, who's been a mentor of mine for these 10 years, as well as another guy, this guy Kevin, who has a channel called OBX Soul Win. He doesn't do many videos anymore, but between the two of them, I've learned a ton of information. And where did you get started reloading, Ray?
Actually, I started reloading for pistol about 28 years ago, and about a year afterwards, I started loading for rifle, and that's when I learned from a bunch of old school guys on how to do it, because I was shooting NRA high power rifle, which, for guys that aren't familiar with it, it's basically shooting 200 yards, 300 yards, and 600 yards using iron sights, using some type of issued rifle or type of issued rifle. So you could shoot like an 03, you could shoot like an M1A1 or M14 style, or you could shoot an AR-15. And back then, everyone was shooting, in Garands as well, but pretty much everyone was shooting like an M1A or an M1A1. I mean, that's what everybody shot across the course. It was positional shooting. And so I had to learn how to reload, because basically the ammo that you could buy it wasn't going to work well. So you need to learn how to load your gun. And so that's how I got into it. Now, there is a caveat to this. For you guys that don't know me, all these other guys know me, but I do a lot of law enforcement and military sniper competitions. And in a lot of those competitions, they don't allow you to use hand-loaded ammo. You have to use factory ammo. So whether that's going to be, like M118 long range like this, or federal gold medal match, or ELD match, something like that. Some of them put stipulations on it so that you can't go out here and start hand loading. And what do you think that is? It gives you an unfair advantage. If you start hand loading for precision rifle, you will shoot tighter groups and attain better velocities or higher velocities than you can ever get from bought or store-bought ammo. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really the premise behind why we go to the extent we do to build this
Correct.
Precision ammo, specifically even to a gun. I know I've shared a little bit with you specifically, Ray, on loading for AI, because the chambers are basically within a few thousands, I think, probably very close to one another. You have one, I have one, and frankly, I've learned more about my AI from you than probably just experiencing it. So thanks for that. And I forgot what I was going to say about that, but
Well, I had some very interesting information about these AIs.
yeah,
And maybe, and guys, the thing is, we're all sharing information here. I don't know who can see the chat. I'm actually doing this from my phone, so I cannot see any comments if anybody's commenting. If you guys see something that you either see wrong or a better way to do it, then please share it in the comments there, because we're all kind of feeding off each other here. I'll show you the way I've been doing it and the way that I've been taught, and I'll share some secrets of how I do it. I guess it's not really a secret, but some of the stuff you just don't really hear that much. But if there's something that you see wrong, point it out. Love to hear some feedback from you guys.
yeah, for certain. So I guess we can kind of get into the reloading specifically now. Obviously, I think I'll just say I think probably the most important, at least to me, the most important aspect of being precise with ammunition. And when I say precise, I mean repeatability, being able to create a cartridge of ammunition that's exactly like 10 other cartridges, that you want them as uniformly perfect as you can get them. And obviously the sizing die and the scale that you're using is probably going to be the most critical. And then from there, kind of it falls away by any stretch. You don't need some crazy Dylan or mech or some kind of crazy precision, rather progressive reloader. I do all my precision stuff on a turret press, just for the being able to size and seat the ammo just more conveniently. What do you guys use, and what do you guys think?
Well, I'll tell you what I use the big Lyman Brassmith turret press, because I can put my bullet seater and the what do you call that thing, the crimp, right beside each other. But as far as decapping, universal decapping die, get a little scale. I got the Lyman discharge deal. That makes it convenient, but I mean, it's close enough for what I need. I'm not going bench rest shooting, but just a single stage press will do you the best you ever. I mean, it will do everything you need, which is kind of cool, because you are reloading not for mass or quantity, but you're reloading for quality.
Yeah, exactly. And I found that just trying to do it on my Dylan, and when I first met Ray, he kind of laughed at me, because that's really all I was using. And he's like, basically, you're never going to be able to create precision ammo on a Dylan precision, progressive press. The tolerances aren't there. The powder drop is not accurate. And he's absolutely right. When I first started loading, specifically like the 6.5 Creedmoor, and then when I got more into it, the 308, the powder drop on either of those cartridges was plus or minus like almost a half a grain, but we're talking like mid to high 40 grain dumps from that powder bar. And just the device itself wasn't, I don't believe, intended to be a precision type measure, where some of even the single stage, I guess you could call it that. I'm not sure what the correct word for them is. I don't use them, but the powder actual station where you pull the little handle and it dumps the charge and whatnot, those are even more precise than the Dylans. But yeah, go ahead, Ray. I know you're jumping at cedar pants. I can tell by that expression on your face.
No, what I was going to ask is, can you see any comments, or do you see comments or questions?
Yeah, I can. I'm kind of like keeping an eye on the comments there.
Okay, so first off, I don't know what everyone's experience is with reloading. I'm sure we've got a big gamut of people out watching right now, but all of my precision loading I do on a single stage press, just like what John was saying, both Johns actually. So I use an RCBS. The beauty of this phone, me using a phone tonight, is I'll be able to kind of show you some stuff in the shop that, for those that watch my channel, you've never seen before, because I've stayed away from this stuff. So it's just a standard single stage press, like a RCBS. Now, when SoCal said he uses a turret, for those that aren't into precision reloading, what he's talking about is something that looks like this. It's still essentially a single stage, but it has a head on it so that you can move this to different dies or seaters, things like that, but it's still somewhat of a single stage. It's not a progressive. It just gives you the options of having more on your tool head. So that's what he's talking about. I don't reload with one of these. I've got one, and I use it for other things for reloading, but not for my precision reloading. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab this camera. Hopefully I don't lose connection. And so, guys, what we're talking about is a single stage press just like this. Now, one of the coolest things that I do is, if you have a single stage, you're like, man, it takes too long to screw them in, screw them out. Hornady makes the quick release ones like this, and you can take the insert out. And so basically you can screw that onto your die, and when you put that in there and turn it, it's locked in. So I never have to change it. So I can go from this die to this decapping die right here. And I'm done. I'm ready to go. My depth is set. I already know for whatever caliber. So I don't know if you guys have seen those before. Hornady makes them. I actually don't know the name of them, but that helps out tremendously in a single stage.
Yeah,
Help.
well, yeah, for sure. The beauty of a single stage or even a turret press is they're kind of a solid device where there's a little bit of play with a progressive type reloader, because you have a lot of moving parts in there, and just to take all those variables out of kind of that complex mechanism like a Dillon or a mech or whatever precision or progressive press you're talking about, you use a single stage. So you have absolute control over each segment of the reloading process, the sizing, the the sizing and the powder drop, I think, are probably the most critical two things next to bullet seating. You want all three of those things are really going to dictate how accurately I use the word accurate and precision, but they're actually very different words. How precisely you can accurately replicate the same thing over and over and over again. Mossy Nut out in the side chat said, where was it? What powder measure? What do y'all use to measure the powder? Okay, so I don't have a super crazy high resolution scale. When I say high resolution, I mean a scale that can measure down into like the thousandths of grains and be accurate. I use I think KotaBoy uses the same one, but correct me if I'm wrong. I use the Generation 6 Lyman auto powder filler thingy, whatever they're calling it. It's kind of cool. It's got a little digital keypad, and you can type out, I want 42.2 grains, and it's got a thing where you can hit auto fill.
That's it.
And it will dump the powder into a little tray. And as soon as you pull the tray off and fill the bullet with it, when you set the tray back down, it'll refill it. The thing about that is that it's not very accurate. It's usually plus or minus 0.2 grains from what the digital readout is saying it is. So what I do is I'll either tap the little wand that the powder comes out of, just to get a couple more grains to fall to get it to where it should be, or I'll take like this, wet my finger and dab it in the powder just to pick up a couple of grains, and then just flick it on the floor. And now right next to where I reload, I have this little mound of powder. Eventually I'll just vacuum it up and put it right back in no, I'm not going to put it back in there. But yeah, so there's that. Most of the scales that we use aren't perfectly precise. I know Ray uses a different setup. Maybe you want to tell him about it, Ray?
All right, so here we go. All right, can you guys hear me and see me? Yep, good. All right, so guys, this is the scale that he's talking about. This is that Lyman. Someone actually gave me this. I'm not a big fan of this unit at all. Okay, John, can you see that? Looks good.
Yeah, it's a little pixelated, but that's all right. You get the gist.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to one of the most popular and what people tout as one of the most accurate scales around. This is an RCBS Chargemaster. Okay, and right now I was loading for 6.5 Creedmoor, and we're using H4350. Okay, I'm going to type in here 42.0 grains. Okay, so I'm trying to hit 42. Can you guys see that? And then what I'm going to do is hit dispense. And what it's going to start doing is dispensing that powder to exactly 42 grains. We're just going to say that's the load for the 6.5. Do not load that in your 6.5. I'm just telling you that's just for an example. And so you can see on the digital scale here, it's at 41.8. There it goes. It says 42. Count one. So if we were, and this is not a cheap scale, guys, it's about $400, but a lot of guys are going to think, hey, man, I've got one of these RCBS Chargemasters. It digitally reads out 42.0 grains. I am good to go. But let me show you something. All right. So this right here, guys, is a very expensive scale. Okay. This one right here actually has glass doors all the way around it, top and everything else. And I'm going to weigh this charge that was supposed to be 42 grains. And it is 41.965. I don't know if you guys can read that. Okay, 41.965. Man, that is phenomenal. That is super. However, each grain of like H4350, I've heard some people say that each little individual pellet, not grain weight, but each little kernel can change your velocity up to 10 feet per second. So let's check again. I just threw another 42 grains on the Charge Master. And hold on just a second. Okay, so 42 grains. Now let's check it over here on this super duper scale. And the super duper scale says 42 flat. Okay, so that time it got it right. Guys, I've checked the charges on the Charge Master and it is extremely accurate. However, it can be off by as much as 41.6 if I'm trying to throw 42, all the way up to 42.4, almost a full grain weight. Okay. It's not quite, it's about 8/10 of a grain weight. But if you're trying to load stupid precision ammunition and you're trying to get, okay, there's two things when you're using a chronograph that's really important. You've got your extreme spread and you have your standard deviation. Now, the extreme spread is going to be your highest velocity and your lowest velocity and what that spread is. A lot of guys say you want to keep that number below 20. So if you did 5 shots, you never want to have more of a variance than, let's say, 20 feet per second between your lowest shot and your highest shot. Now, all this is going to play into what we call your standard deviation. Now, standard deviation is how uniform your ammunition is. And if you can get that 6 or under, you are doing great. I mean, actually, you're exceeding the expectation. Typically, with these scales that I'm using, I can get into the 5.1s, 5.2s pretty easy. I've never loaded with a 4 of a standard deviation, but it takes using a scale like that. But, you're looking at spending a ton of money. And at some point, you have diminishing returns. What will this scale do at 3 times the cost of what this Charge Master does? Really nothing other than give you more accurate ammunition. But at what point do you stop? It goes on up from here. If you go with those, what do they call them? The Sartorians or Praetorians, the ones that you have to lease. They don't even sell them. You know what I'm talking about, John?
I do not. Nope, not so much.
Yeah, most of your really, really high end competition shooters, and I mean stupid high end, they will lease those for like a 3-year term, and they are not cheap. But it takes a scale like that, and there is a difference. Like these Lymans and that RCBS, they use like a mesh. So when you pull that off, what the tray actually sits on, it actually tensions on a mesh. These other ones, these stupid high-end expensive ones that get into the $1,000 to $1,500, those actually use magnetic resonance on them. So it's completely different as far as your resolution. That's why it'll load 42.005 if you needed to.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
I'm just
but
showing you from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Well, you're guaranteed. I mean, even in the resolution, if you read the fine print on any of those boxes, like you were saying, for either the RCBS or the Lymans or the Hornadies or the Redding scales, they're all in fine print. If you look real carefully, they only guarantee it plus or minus 0.2 grains, or 0.02 grains of resolution. So you might be off 4 grains or 0.04 grains in either direction, which is a ton. I mean, that's just going by what I've seen stuck to my finger compared to what I was reading in the scale. There's 8 or 9 grains of powder that make up 0.02 grains of weight. And then going back to the standard. Oh, go ahead.
What I was going to say was it really depends on the type of powder that you're using, but John is exactly right. When I'm using, like, let's say H4350, that's an extruded powder. Looks like a piece of pencil lead. And some of them are longer than others. Your typical one, when you pick it up, he was talking about he wets his fingers. It is actually 0.015 on average is what I've seen. Because if I'm trying to load to 42.000 grains, it has to be, for me, if I'm trying to do precision ammo, it has to be 41.995 or 42.005. That's how accurate I try to get my throws on here, or my load, if you will, for my powder, because now I've taken that out of the equation. I know that my charge is right, but there's so many other variables that are going to affect everything. Everything from case prep. Are you doing the inside outside chamfer? That's pretty basic. You might know that from just basic reloading. Are you doing the flash hole? Are you uniforming the primer pocket? All of this is going to matter, as well as sizing the case. Make sure you don't oversize it. And I do have an example that I want to show you guys, and this is probably going to blow your mind, John. Oh, let's see here. See if I can get this going. I kind of set this up.
This is what I like about X-Ring. He's the most organized dude I've ever met. And I thought KB was organized.
Right, so guys, this is Hornady ELD match, 147 grain. And what we're going to look at here is this is basically a headspace comparator. The headspace comparator. I don't know if you guys can see this, but basically what it does, it measures off the datum line off of a case, and it basically tells you where that datum line is in relationship to the base of the case. When I did Hornady ELD match, those came out to 1.5575, and Hornady does a great job of hitting that number. I mean, the worst I saw was 1.5570, but I did see a 0.8 or a 5580. Now, guys, when you shoot that case in your chamber, every rifle is going to be different. Some chambers are cut tight, some chambers are cut large. And so I'm actually using a Christensen, thanks to John. And when I fire that case in the chamber, it comes out to 1.5610. So what's going on is basically the 1.5575 blows out to uniform into the chamber itself. And you can use the headspace comparator to tell you that number. So I know that that's what I need to size back down to, and then bump it, a thou, maybe 2 thou. So when I resize it, what I want to do is I want to hit 1.5600. That way I don't have a huge expansion that's trying to occur. Now, let me tell you something really different. Now, remember this number, 1.5575. That's factory ammunition. If I take this factory ammo and put it in an AI with a suppressor, the number comes up to 1.5530. Guys, that's almost 4 thou smaller than factory. It actually shrinks the case down in an AI with the suppressor. That blow your mind yet? I've got 50 pieces of brass that was brand new, fired out of box ammo, and it all shrunk 4 thou. So herein lies the problem, guys. If I try to take this once fired, blown down ammo and load up and shoot in my Christensen, I can't make this any larger unless I shoot it, and I have to fire form it to my chamber. It's got a huge jump now that it's got to go to. It's got to go to 15530 and jump all the way up to 156. I mean, that is huge. So I have to fire form it first, unless I'm going to keep making that huge jump. Did that blow your mind or what, John?
Yeah, actually,
I can't hear you.
I know. I had the dumb mute on, and then I was typing in the side chat, and then I had to find the mute again. Yeah, I didn't expect to see that at all. I've gone as far as to do measurements on my chamber, but that also is just to measure bullet chump and whatnot. We'll get into that in a bit, probably, if people can stand it. I got a couple of questions out in the side chat. The Crazy Scotsman asked one up here. What is everyone's preferred bullet for precision rifle? I think everybody on the panel can agree that at least for 6.5 Creedmoor and a handful of other calibers, I think the Hornady ELD match, at least specifically for 6.5 Creedmoor, the 147 grain bullet is untouchable, for lack of a better word. And I think the reason for that, even compared to like the 123 or the 140, they might have one in between there, all the way up to 147. Obviously, they're not getting bigger around, they're just getting longer. And the longer the bullet you get, the better ballistic coefficient you achieve, to an extent, obviously. But I really haven't tried many other projectiles other than the nozzlers, 140 grain nozzlers, 140 grain ELDs, and they both work great. However, the better ballistic coefficient you can achieve, and that comes with length of the bullet itself. That's kind of like what you're looking for. KotaBoy's here twice now. I don't know. Do you have anything to add about that, KB or Ray?
Well, I've been jumping between computers left and right, but now the 147s are the way to go. Longer, better. The ballistic coefficient on the 147s of what, 698 versus a 140, which is like a 5 something. So it's a huge jump in ballistic coefficient, and that's where you're going to get your gains. Better velocity, better coefficient, more distance, flatter shooter.
Yeah, I agree. There's some good burgers out there, but the 147 ELD match or the 140, I think it's a great bullet for 6.5 Creedmoor. I have messed around with some of the 6.5s in the Sierra Match King. I haven't quite gotten to the point yet where it's as good as the Hornady. I don't even know why I'm messing around with it, but I've always been a big Sierra guy. So let's stop, take it back to where we need to go. So if somebody had, let's say they just bought a rifle, they bought the Ruger RPR, they just bought a whole case of Hornady, and they got a 6.5, and they just bought Hornady ELD match in 140 grain. And they've shot through that whole case, and it cost them $200 and something. And like, man, I want to really get into precision reloading. I really want to load to this gun. The first thing you're going to want is to get a single stage press, okay, of some sort. I don't care the brand, just get you a good single stage press. John talked on some dies.
Wait.
Not
So
always better.
actually,
Yep.
let me interrupt you because I don't want to like go too fast. For those that are completely unfamiliar with what a good single stage press is, maybe talk about that for a second. I only have experience with Redding, and obviously the ever so popular RCBS Rock Chucker. I think I have a Rock Chucker version 4.
Okay. Yeah, something that doesn't have a lot of wiggle. It's very sturdy. It's got a big throws that you can do longer, cases. I mean, I'm not going to name any other names. I just want to stay away from those. But I've seen some really crappy single stage presses. When you start playing around with it, or if you see one, if it's got a lot of wiggle in your handle, if everything just feels kind of loose, that's probably not the one. Just bang for the buck. It's hard to beat the Rock Chucker, just like he's saying. You don't need to buy the deluxe kit because you're not going to need all the other crap that's in there. You're going to want to go a little more, I'm not going to say specialized because some people equate that to more money, but stuff that's more tailored to what you need, because the thrower that comes with those deluxe kits or whatever, it's horrible. You don't want that. You don't need it. Okay. So a good single stage press would be first. All right, go ahead and pick up from there, John, because that's where you want me to kind of stop.
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to need a set of dies. They don't have to be competition national match dies, but you do want a good set of dies. Cheaper is not always better. One of the biggest differences you might see, and I'm going to go ahead and take you guys over here so you can see it, is when you get into your seating dies. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm gonna get some light on it, guys. This actually has a dial. Do you see that? It's like a micrometer. It actually has a dial micrometer, so I can adjust my depth. Now, this is another single stage press. This is called a RCBS partner press. I use these exclusively for seating. I know it sounds stupid, but basically I have one for smaller calibers and one for larger. So here's another one here. This is a partner press. It's very lightweight, and the only thing I use them for is seating bullets. You guys can actually see this one has a micrometer on it as well, so I can be really particular about it. Now, this one is nowhere near as heavy duty. You wouldn't want to do any sizing with this with larger calibers, but it has all the finesse that I need to feel when I'm seating that bullet, that I know everything's exactly right. What are you doing, John? So yeah, there's a single stage press that you wouldn't want to size or resize on.
What are you using, KB? Well, you said you're using the that Lyman 8-stage turret press.
Yeah.
What are you using for dies?
I use the Lee dies because I've not ever had any problems out of them. I know the Lee factory crimp die is supposed to be like highly regarded, but that's pretty much it. Now, as far as neck sizing, the stuff that we're moving into the precision stuff, I'm kind of looking at moving everything over to Hornady. So I've got the decapper. And then I've got the neck sizing die that just arrived at my house. So that's going to actually go on to that Lyman brass Smith deal. So we're going to be resizing everything over there, decapping, universal decap. The only thing that what's interesting is that I've always told, if somebody asks me and he goes, what do I need to get into reloading? I said, you just get a single stage, learn the, because that's the most inexpensive way to do it. And you learn the process. You learn the whys, the do's and the don'ts from that single stage. You develop those skills, and that will go a long way down into like the progressives or the turrets and things like that. But that's where we are right now. And I was like, we were talking earlier. I said, there's anything that you do, make it a learning experience, make it a positive learning experience. So it's always been an interesting journey for me. But going back to, that's what I use. I use a Lee classic Lee single stage for resizing, trimming, that kind of stuff.
All right, I don't know, for the sake of conversation, I don't crimp any of my 6.5 at all. Just for those who don't know, when you resize a piece of brass, typically inside of the die there'll be the arm that typically has a decapping pin in it, and then around, yeah, exactly, that's where I'm headed. In around that decapping portion is this weird little, looks like a little submarine or a long Tylenol or something that stuffs itself. As you resize the case, when you pull that out, there's this little submarine drops itself straight down the neck, and as you pull it out, it expands the neck, because what you're doing is shrinking it and then pulling that ball through it and kind of sizing it, so that when you do drop a bullet in it, it's not too tight. But at the same time, if you you try to seat a bullet in let's say a fire formed case, you'll notice that the bullet will most often just fall straight through. There's just not enough tension on it to keep a bullet from being able to push up and down in the the neck. I'm like totally struggling for words all of a sudden. there's lots of schools of thoughts on should you crimp it, how much do you crimp it. I know pretty much all my ammo, you try to, you know, pistol ammo specifically, I only crimp it to just get the bell out of the case, but we're not belling this. You don't bell rifle ammo, just there's no reason to. Um, what do you do, Ray? Do you crimp anything, or do you just leave the neck tension alone and go with it, or?
No, only thing I crimp is I'll put a really light crimp on my pistol ammo, or 5.56. Like if any of my 5.56, like 55 grainers, I will crimp it so that I don't get pushback from the semi-automatic. But any of my bolt gun stuff, I do not put a crimp on it. Okay, so guys, I'm going to expand on what John was talking about. This is a once fired case out of that Christensen. Okay, so this has blown out to the size of the chamber. So now if I take a bullet, it will fall right into here. I can just push it in, and I don't want to lose it in the back of this. So what I've got to do is I've got to put it in that sizing die. And I know there's a bunch of you that have experience, but we're trying to, from start to finish, someone that's never reloaded before. We've got to basically take this and shrink it back down. And what a lot of guys will do is they'll take their die on their single stage and they'll run the arm down, and as soon as it touches, they'll give it a quarter turn and then lock it in. And then that way, like say on a full length sizing die, it will cam over. Yes, that works, but if you've got a larger chamber, you're making your brass blow out more and more each time, and you're working that brass too much. Okay, now guys, we're not going to get into advanced stuff like neck sizing only, and all of that. We'll get into that some other time, some other month. Right now, I'm just talking about your basic reloader. So you could take this, use a full length sizing die, and shrink this down. And if I do that on this reloader here, it's going to shrink this case down. Remember, this is 15630, or 10 rather, 15610. If I full length size it and cam over, it's going to be like 15535. I mean, I've really shrunk it down. And then if I fire it in that same gun, it's just jumping and expanding a whole lot more than it needs to. And then I'm going to start running into a risk of getting neck fractures or case neck splits. It could be at the base here. I mean, you don't know when you're working it that much. Now, you can't just keep loading this stuff forever. After about 4 times, I'm going to go and anneal it. Now, I've got an annealing machine. I'll show you a picture of one, or the one that I've got. But guys, this is a little excessive. You probably don't want anything like this. This is a bench source. It looks like an old phonograph from Clockwork Orange. But basically, it has bottles that connect to it. And you'll need to basically anneal your brass so that it doesn't get work hardened or case hardened here. And then you'll definitely have some big issues. But annealing is a whole nother story. We don't even want to talk about that. So first off, you've got all this brass. You're going to need some way to clean it, okay? You've got guys that are just die-hard wet tumblers that are using like the rock tumbler with stainless steel media with like Dawn and Lemmy Shine or something. And then you've got your, hold on. All right, so guys, this is your old school, just a huge tumbler with like walnut or corn cob media. You guys can see it, and it makes a ton of noise. Okay, it will shake your whole house. This is a rather large one. I don't use this much, but I still use it. I have a bunch of these. But here's a wet tumbling. Now this will have stainless media in it, and it's basically stainless little pins that look like that, and it's very quiet. It seals itself up, and it just turns like a little rock tumbler. I can't say anything bad about it. I like it. It cleans your brass very quickly and very quietly, with the exception of when I'm in a hurry to reload, I don't have time to throw it in the oven or throw a hairdryer on it or bake it on the sun. Whereas if I use the media, like the walnut or the corn cob, once it's done, I'm ready to go. That's something you've got to decide, okay? The other thing is consumables. When you get into the dry media, you're going to have to replace that corn cob and walnut and everything else because it does get dirty over time. Whereas with the stainless pins, as long as you don't lose them, you just got to change out your water. Any thoughts from you guys on those? Hello.
No, I'm there. I was just about to type a comment to Big Al. I will say the one bonus of using a media tumbler as opposed to a wet tumbler, if you're using carbide dies, and I'm talking specifically about pistol ammo, straight walled ammo, if you are using a media type tumbler with the corn cob or the walnut or the combination therein, the dust that is left over on the brass from the tumbling process acts as a lubricant. And I won't recommend not lubing brass ever, but if you're using carbide dies specifically, you actually don't need to lubricate any of your pistol.
I do
Precision
not
rifle,
lubricate pistol whatsoever. Never have.
But let's see. Big Al had a question on the size there, or on the side chat there. Shouldn't you full case resize your first reloads and then just next size after that? I'm in a school of thought where, you know, going back to what Ray said, you don't want to oversize your brass, and the purpose of neck sizing is basically to keep the geometry as is. It's fire form to your chamber, so you're not really going down over the entire piece of brass and changing the dimension or the circumference or the length of the case from the shoulder down. At the same time, if you don't over full size your brass, you're basically achieving the same thing. Earlier, he kind of spoke of, you know, when you set up your sizing die, you screw it down till it stops. You take a little of the tension off the handle, screw it a quarter turn down, and then lock that key nut. That's a good way to start, but at the same time, when I'm reloading or resizing the brass for like the 6.5 or whatever, when I'm going to be using that same brass in the same exact chamber, what I typically will do is turn it out maybe a full turn. So that way it's not compressing the entire length of the case. It does compress it a little more, but it doesn't do the entire case, but you still get the benefit from that shoulder push. But we're talking about some voodoo stuff that will be better for a next video when we get into the details of how to get crazy accurate. But I don't know. Do you have a preference there, KB, on media or wet tumbling? I've seen you do both.
Yeah, I do wet tumbling with the stainless steel pins, and what I do is I have a dehydrator that I bought. So literally, tumble for an hour, rinse, and then I put it in the dehydrator for about 2 or 3 hours at 165 degrees, man, and it comes out perfect. And then the only thing you got to be careful of, and especially in a 6.5, is my pins. And I can't remember if they're Lyman. They're sold with a kit. They'll get stuck sideways inside the neck. So you just got to be careful when you make sure you inspect inside each one of those chambers. And you always want to check your flash holes. Usually when you do your wet tumbling with stainless steel pins, it will clean your primer pockets and those flash holes out like they really spit shine. I mean, it's amazing. But that's the way I like to do it.
Hey, I got another question out in the side chat for. I'm trying to go through to make sure I'm not missing any, but let's see. LZUSA is asking X-Ring specifically, what's your opinion on ultrasonic type brass cleaners? And before you answer, because you're nowhere to be found, oh, there you are. I bought one of those Hornady, they call it the hot tub cleaners, and honestly, they work great. They work just as well, in my opinion, as basically everything else. It just seems like they take a lot longer to achieve the same result using either a dry or a wet tumbler. I don't know. Do you have any other? Do you have any? What's your opinion? What do you think?
I do have one down here. I don't use it. I use it to clean gun parts, and that's pretty much it. Yes, they'll work on cleaning your brass inside and outside. Uh, they're noisy. You know, your lower end ones will only go 30 minutes at a time. Your higher ones you can set for about an hour. You can't put any aluminum in there. We are talking about cleaning brass, but I don't use it for cleaning my brass. There's nothing wrong with them. I know they work well, but I don't use them for brass cleaning.
Yeah, they just seem to take a lot longer. I actually gave mine away to a guy, a geek that works for me. Well, he doesn't work specifically for me, but he's on my team at the job there, and he uses them to use to clean. Like he's in the hobby of like taking like the old Nintendo cassettes from the 80s and 90s that you used to stuff in the little game consoles. He actually he breaks them apart and he sticks them in the ultrasonic cleaner using alcohol, and that's what he uses to clean them so they work better. Those, I guess that works for him. So
all right, guys, I want to jump in real quick. Moving on along. Go ahead.
I'm going to step away for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay, so guys, what we're going to do now is this is a set of calipers, okay? And that thing that I showed you before is the Headspace comparator. They do have an insert. You can use a little Allen screw and take the insert out. We're using 6.5 today, so this is a C or 0.375. You want to attach this to the traveling end of your caliper. And then let's check, and we want to make sure this is zeroed out. And it is dead zero. I don't know if you guys can read that, but it is zeroed out. So, guys, what this is going to do, this is a once fired piece of brass from that Christensen. What we're going to do is we're going to measure off the datum line, which is what that collet does, the C, off the back of the case. Now, I can tell you that it was going to be about 161 or somewhere in there. You can actually see it's 1.5615. 1.5615. Now, for precision rifle loading, you really don't want to bump it back a ton, but we do want to bump the shoulders back, and I'm using a full-length sizing die. So as long as I can just bump this back and close that neck up to hold a bullet, then my target should be somewhere about 1.560. So let me switch this around now. I'm going to go over here to the single stage press that you guys saw earlier. And then we're going to pretend this is clean. We're going to pretend we've trimmed it to length. We're going to pretend that we've cleaned the primer, or that we've inside, outside, all this other stuff. Now, the first thing you want to do is get the primer out. I'm going to do that all at once here. Normally what I do is I use like a Lee decapper, and I'll just pop the primers out. I'll throw them in, clean them up. But what we're going to do is some type of case lube. Guys, when you go to rifle loading, you have to use case lube. There's no exception to it. Whether you're using like a spray, or I use this Imperial, this is case wax, sizing die wax. This is what I swear by. It will last you forever. What you do is just put a little on your fingers. You don't need much. It's almost like, I don't know. It feels
Okay,
like
so
butter.
when you say put a little on your finger, I just want to reemphasize for anybody, because I use the same exact stuff.
It is a little.
I mean, what you're doing, it's not like regular wax. It's not like almost like the sensation of a melted butter or something like gooey, like coconut oil. It's actually fairly rigid, and it does have like
it's like a stick of butter.
Yeah, but a very cold stick of butter. It's not like melted butter. It's got like it's very stiff, but so you're just dragging your finger across the top of it with very little weight on the actual wax, just enough to get a touch on there, and then kind of massaging it onto the brass.
Yeah,
you don't want a ton of it.
Yeah, he's exactly right. I mean, you can't physically see it. You can just tell that the case is a little slick. Now I've already set this full length sizing die up so that I'm only bumping the shoulders back. If I use the method that everybody says by screwing it down and camming over, I'm going to size this piece of brass down to 1.5535. And that's, in my opinion, too small. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to pull this down. It's going to decap it. It didn't even cam over, which that's fine. And then now let's check this number on that piece. And what my target goal was for this was to get somewhere out around 15600. Look at that, 15600. So I've bumped it back a little over a thou, but that's going to be plenty good enough. And I've also sized the neck down, and there is no physical way I'm going to get that freaking bullet into that neck unless I use a seating die. So that's all I'm doing is bumping that shoulder back just enough in the precision. Now, we're not talking about a gas gun, guys. We're talking about precision rifle loading here. So we're just trying to bump that shoulder back just enough so that it can span a little, being the shoulder here, but not giving me a sticky bolt situation or anything when I'm trying to close it. Does that make sense? All right. So now that I've got this, all I've got to do is put in a primer. Now, I don't know how you guys use primers. A lot of guys use the hand primers. I don't know if you guys have these or not. This thing is stupid fast. And it looks like this. You guys seen these before? It's a RCBS. And basically, you take your primer. You can load 100 of them up in here. And as I pull that down, that will drop one on here. I can seed another one. Drop one on here, seed another one. It's extremely fast. I can feel every single piece, part, and component moving when I seed it with the same tension each and every time. The hand ones are okay, but the handle usually breaks on those over time. Now, if you're shooting 308 and you're shooting old military brass, you're probably going to have to take the crimp out because it probably has a crimp in it. We're talking about precision 6.5. There's no military offering for this right now. I would have to show you the tool for that, and we can talk about that at a later time. But you've either got to cut that out or swedge it out. Anything you guys want to add so far?
I think, well, I'm not sure about KotaBoy's press, but I know the Forester that, or not Forester, Redding that I use, and I know Robbie uses one too over at Pop's Quest. It has the option. It costs extra, but it's got, like, I think for another $50 or something, you can get the little tube and the feeder for the turret press, that where after you size it, there's a little thing you just push forward on and then run the handle once more, and it feeds a little primer out there. And if your case is centered on the ram, then
mine broke.
You broke yours. That's a shocker. There's a shocker.
Yeah. Outside of the gym, it's real hard, and it kind of bent some shit. So
yeah, it only works to feed one at a time.
I'm online right now ordering the damn RCBS thing to raise God.
All right. Well, that's what we're here for. Learning experience and everything.
That's in stock.
Perfect.
Well, that RCBS that I showed you guys, it actually has the primer function on there, but I took it off because it's such a heavy duty press and it's solid. I rather feel it with the little RCBS thing. And I've got a box over here somewhere, but the name of it escapes me. But it'll do small primer and large, but I don't like to switch them around because of the RCBS thing. So I keep two of them, one for large, one for small, even though it'll do both. And that's the fastest way I've found. It's really easy. Once I put that in there, it is ready to go. It doesn't matter. This came up in conversation the other night, guys. Believe what you will, and Robbie made a good point when he mentioned it. A lot of people don't talk about it, but Federal 210M gold medal match primers are the same as Federal 210. The only difference is the experience of the worker putting it together. It is not hotter. It is not anything, and that is from CCI. That is going to be from Federal. Guaranteed. If it just says match, it's not any hotter, okay? I'm talking specifically like the gold medal match 210M. It's the same as 210. Okay, it's not any hotter. So don't always believe what you hear. I'm telling you that as fact, and there's no reason to pay any more. You do have more reliable ignition based on the fact that they have more experienced people loading those primers. That's it. It's the same temp and everything. So once you do that, then you just go ahead.
Yeah, it's $100 cheaper, or it's $30 cheaper on Amazon. So you go to put a primer in, and usually, you know how you feel a little pressure there. You know, you can feel it. What does it mean when you push it up and there's no pressure at all, but the primer stays in? That's something to look out for.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
a very strong indicator. You have a really loose primer pocket. You can probably expect that with, yeah, I'm not condoning loading over load data. Everybody should have their manuals and their websites that they go to do the research on what's proper load data. But typically at the higher end of those load datas, and maybe even towards the mid-range, if you have a loose primer pocket, and that's what you're talking about, you can expect that primer to pop right out.
Well, that's interesting. I did. I just, you know, I felt there were like 3 out of the 50 that I reloaded this last weekend. And I set those and I marked them just so I would watch out for what those would do. And they ran fine.
Yeah,
So I got them marked. I'm going to continue to. I'm just going to go ahead and pull them out and see what happens. See how hard it is to decap them. That kind of thing too.
And also, it's important, you know, just because you had that lack of tension, for lack of a better word, doesn't necessarily mean that the primer pocket's out of spec or becoming loosened up. Could depend on the material that the primer is actually encased in. You know, I've literally only used Winchester primers, just because they're convenient for me to buy, and that's kind of like what I've ever used. I've never used CCI or Federal or Tula or any of them, and they've always been consistent for me. But as far as the loose primer pockets, it could be the material, and that's kind of what you can expect, or it could be the primer pocket, or a combination of anything.
Yeah, I do know that you get into reloading, and it's like the funniest thing when we were first started talking about this. It was like middle part of last week. Ray called me and he said, "All right, so I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and this is just to pick your brain and see what your level of knowledge is in the reloading world of precision rifle rounds." And he asked me a series of questions. He goes, "Okay, so now I know what you're familiar with. That tells me what I need to help you out with." And he did, to the tune of about $350, which was the funny thing. But
he does that to you too, huh?
yeah, it was an awesome experience. Like, I need this and I need that. Well, you know what? If you commit to the game, then go do it. You know what I mean? So there were certain things that I went out and I bought, and there were certain things that like the comparator, shell case comparator, the neck comparator, the bullet seating comparator. All those things, I had no idea what the hell those were, but I have them now. So it's, again, one of the beauties of this whole deal is that it's a learning experience that you just can't. It's nice to have some guidance in there, but you really have to. It's fun to sit down. You have the resources, picking up the phone and talking to some people, and having them help you through it all. I mean, I even got the anvil piece that goes on the opposite end of the calipers, because I got sick and tired of having to balance this thing out and twist it. I was like, "Oh no, I'm getting that thing. It's $14, whatever. Let's do it." So to me was the coolest part, is just the learning capacity. Because as far as I'm concerned, the firearms world is, if you stop learning and trying to get better, then you're bored. You need to get out of it. But I'm having an absolute blast doing things that I've never thought I'd ever be doing. And that's shooting a 6.5, out past a mile, or shooting it out to 1,000 yards and just having fun with it. But this is part of the game.
Yeah. Now, for the guys that are watching, I don't know how many people are still watching the channel. If all you're trying to do is reload hunting ammo, hit a deer, or hit a larger target, it's not that important. But I mean, if you're wanting to get into these groups that are, 1 inch at 400 yards, this is what it's going to take. Now, we're not talking about bench rest shooting. We're not talking about, using arbor presses and loading them on the range. We're talking about precision long range rifle shooting, and to make that weapons platform you have shoot as accurately as it possibly can. Now, of course, we're going to be the weakest link usually. Okay, us as shooters, you've got to know what your own limits are. I mean, realistically, there is a point of diminishing returns. Okay. You don't want to spend 5 hours loading 10 rounds. You can do this relatively quickly. I know, depending on how many steps I want to forego, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm just shooting, let's say, a long range, like a DMR, I won't do this. I have a completely different process that's very fast. I can load up about 100 rounds in about an hour without a progressive. It's still single stage, but we use a thrower for that. And we never showed a thrower, but it's a competition thrower. It's one of the BR series by Redding, and it just makes it really fast. And all you're doing is just seating bullets on top of it. You don't go through all the prep work with the brass. You can skip some of that because we're never going to pick it up again anyway. You're all over a course. You're not picking up the brass. You do this for precision rifle, you need to be picking it back up because you have so much time and energy in each piece of brass. Now, once you do get into annealing, you can reload a piece of brass 25, 30 times, depending on the caliber. You cannot look at precision rifle reloading as a cost savings. It is not a cost savings. It's going to cost you just as much to get started in it or more than if you were just to buy factory match ammo. But the difference is you can get crazy tight groups and crazy quality ammunition out of your rifle. Groups and everything else. So it's on you. You gotta look at what you want out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. We are going to try to wrap this up. It's already been like an hour and 10 minutes or something, and I don't think any of us really wanted to go on all night, although it is fun and I could, but that just leaves more room for another chat. So if there's anybody out in the side chat there that has any questions that they want to pose to us in the next, say, 5 minutes, put them out there now. If there's anything we kind of left an open end on, put it out there. But actually, I just want to address J. Greg Campbell. He's saying he was trying to quit smoking and he's a little jittery right now. And he had mentioned that he hadn't reloaded his own ammunition in like decades or so. And I quit smoking in, I think it was 2011, right at the beginning of the year. And just before that, in 2000, I think it was like the end of 2009, I started reloading. And what really got me into reloading, to really concentrate on it, was trying to find something to do with my hands other than using them to stick cigarettes in my mouth. And it's actually a great tool to quit smoking, because every time you feel like you need a cigarette, you go out to the garage or wherever your reloading room is and just start putting bullets and pulling a handle, and it keeps your hands very busy, and you forget about wanting a cigarette because you're involved in trying to make ammo that doesn't suck. So Papa's Place wants to know what the meaning of life is, and we'll save that for another chat. I'm pretty sure we all know what the answer is, but that's going to be a very special chat. Stay tuned for that one. Anything else you guys want to just throw out there by the by?
I'd like just to comment, both of you guys, thank you so much for the guidance you guys have given me, man. It's been a pleasure. It's been a learning experience. I'm really looking forward to elevating this thing so that that piece of shit you sold me will shoot right. Anyway,
Yeah. Why do you think I sold it to you? The barrel's
yeah,
bent.
I know. I'm
The
thinking
freaking
that
chassis
earlier,
is completely canted, and yeah, it's a piece of shit.
funny, my gas gun shoots tighter grips than that thing. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining. I think this is a very successful. We got 40 people on board right now. And you know what? We got a great group of guys, and I really appreciate it. And you're all like family to me. So thank you. Go ahead, Ray. No,
Yeah,
Yeah,
the only
you got
thing I
any,
want to add is,
yeah, go for it, man.
yeah, the only thing I want to add is it's been a pleasure working with you, John. I know it's a long, involved process, but it's not like you went out and bought an inexpensive rifle. I know what that MPA is capable of with factory ammo, but I also know what it's capable of if you start loading to that rifle. I'm hoping that this was a chat that was really informative for a lot of people. I mean, we got into the basics of it with showing some things that guys might have seen before. They might own them, they might use them, they might have different techniques, but it was just a chance to share. And we really haven't even gotten into the topic yet. There's a whole lot more to cover with regards of, well, where do you start? This might be a good opportunity to set up something for a chat next week or something like that. How do you know if you want to? Do you immediately want to take your rifle and start running it out to the lands and grooves with the bullet? No, I don't think so. And that's not how I do it. What I do is I find out where my accuracy node is. If you don't know what that is, you'll have to watch the next chat and how it's done correctly. In order to do that correctly, you're going to need to be at 300 to 500 yards just to do the test.
Yeah, I
So
think.
that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed it.
Okay, well, that's solid information right there. All right, guys. Well, I know this topic is deep at the very least, and I know there's a lot of opinions on the intricacies of it. And well, here's three guys' opinion anyway, and maybe we'll bring on a couple more people for the next one. But I think in the next one, what we'll do is probably just concentrate on a fairly regimented, where do you start, what do I need, and kind of the basic stuff regarding precision ammo, and how to get started. And then maybe we can work from there into how to custom tailor specific ammo to specific guns. And I think this actually might be a pretty fun kind of series if you guys are up for it. So hopefully we can get some attention with it. Anyway, thanks for everybody out in the side chat. Thank you, Ray, and thank you, John, X-Ring, and KotaBoy. You guys want to do an outro, or?
No, I'm good, man. I'm just happy to be here. Really appreciate the opportunity to hang out with two cool dudes, even though one of them's from California. Not everybody is cool.
Despite the Californianess.
Yeah, California, Carolina rules. Anyway, thanks, guys.
All right, guys. The only thing I want to say is, man, it has been an adventure. It's been awesome over the last literally just over a year, and meeting up with these guys right here. I would have never met John or John, both of them, John, and half the other guys that I know. Just great group of guys, but just through YouTube. I mean, it was something that was completely foreign to me. I don't watch TV. I don't really get on YouTube. I never had. And man, I tell you what, it's been unbelievable, especially making friends with these guys and spending time with them. And I appreciate you guys helping our channels grow and watching, and hopefully we all gain from this and learn something. And like I said, it's not just about the way we do it. I want to hear feedback from you guys. If you say, well, that's not really the way I was taught how to do it, and we can discuss, well, why. I mean, the guys that taught me, they knew their stuff, but I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. I'd like to hear from you guys as well, but thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I think we've all learned a ton from each other for certain. So with that, we're going to cut it out. And thanks again out there in the side chat. Hope you guys come back and see us next week. I don't know if it's going to be the same day or the same time or whatever, but I know TR does a chat on Tuesdays occasionally right at the same time. So if he does a chat, maybe we'll move it to Wednesday or something. So appreciate it, guys. You all take care and have a good night. Thanks for stopping by.